Seeing it's the hour of 8:30 and we have a quorum, I'd like to call the Law and Government Liquor Committee to order at 8:30. May I have a roll call, please?
Van Hoff.
Present.
Sullivan.
Here.
Kunkel.
Here.
Sauger.
Here.
Campbell. Here. Shorten.
Here.
Altough.
Here. And thank you. We obviously took Mr. Kunkel's words to heart from the board meeting. We have a full quorum this morning. I am very grateful, so thank you all for being here. We have no public comment this morning. Did I miss anyone? Moving on the agenda, member comments this morning. Anyone?
Minutes also, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go back to that. No member comments. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Mr. Shorten, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Going on to new business. Can the owners of the Busy Bee restaurant come forward, please, and sit at the table? What you have before you this morning is just the addition of the owner's daughter to the liquor license. There's been no major incidents. It's been run extraordinarily well. Do you want to introduce yourselves and kind of explain why you're here today and why it's necessary to add your daughter to the liquor license?
Yeah, my name is Gaspar Martinez, and I'm the owner, and this is my daughter. I'm gonna give her the opportunity to her, because I've been kind of a little sick, get heart attack, and I don't know in case something happened to me, so my daughter can be part of the business, and that's what I came for. So.
And we're delighted to see a woman who's going to take that managerial position as well. So nice to see you. Does anyone have any questions? This is somewhat routine. Mr. Sauger?
Yeah, usually it's just a routine action, as it were, when you shift ownership, especially if it's within the family. So I'm sorry that you had a heart attack. I hope that you're doing well.
Yeah.
And we look forward to working with you in terms of the license as it continues on. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And thank you for the restaurant. I've enjoyed.
Yeah, thank you.
I've enjoyed dining there.
Very much so. Any other comments? Mr. Shorten, I'm going to look at you this morning. We have a standard speech we give all liquor license holders. If you're not prepared, Mr. Sauger is prepared.
Mr. Sauger, I'm not prepared.
I have a backup. I always have a backup plan. Mr. Sauger, do you want to?
Sure. One of the things that we want to communicate to you now as one of the new owners is the fact that the county takes its responsibilities with regards to liquor licenses incredibly seriously. And we want to ensure that as we look to new owners, they understand that this is a privilege to have a liquor license. It is not a right, it is a privilege, and that privilege comes with certain responsibilities, not the least of which is to ensure that we do not serve underage individuals. So there is a huge onus of responsibility upon you all as the owners to make sure that you're properly checking IDs to ensure that individuals are old enough to purchase alcohol in McHenry County. The second thing is that we take very seriously the hours of operation, because there are limits to when, in fact, we can serve alcohol. So that's very important. And the last thing that I would indicate is that in the state of Illinois, it is illegal to provide free alcohol to individuals. And so even though they may be your very best friends, or even though they may be close family members, you can't just say, here's alcohol for free, take it away. And so that is illegal in the state of Illinois. I also would caution you that after hours, you cannot serve, period. Sometimes we get into a situation where things are just going really well, and we've had a very, very busy evening, as it were, and you say to the staff, oh, thank you so much. Now, after closing hours, let's take a deep breath, and we'll provide the drinks for you. You can't do that. You can't do that because, number one, you can't give, again, alcohol out free, but that's still service after hours, and that's against the county ordinances. So I would just caution you on those things, and I know that you've taken those to heart, and I'm very grateful, and I just want to remind you now as one of the new owners that that's something that is absolutely essential, and we do we do check those things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And lastly, before I hand this liquor license over to you with the addition of your name, do you have any questions or
No.
anything you'd like to say to us before you
No,
leave?
No.
All right, well, congratulations. Oh, Mr. Shorten.
We have to vote?
Oh, yeah, we do. I'm sorry, thank you. So, I was so excited. All those in favor of granting a liquor license or adding the additional item to the liquor license, I probably should do a roll call. Yay?
And a motion.
And a motion. Motion, Carolyn, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. Roll call.
Campbell.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
Yes?
Sager.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes.
We thank you for your continued business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Best breakfasts. And can I ask now, Alden, quick, Mark, people, quick, come up. You're gonna listen to the speech twice, but it never can be said often enough. So here we actually have a new owner that we are investigating. So do you want to introduce yourselves and kind of explain the situation behind the transfer of ownership?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Tarsem Singh, and I'm running the gas station in Harvard already for 10 years, which is a Shell. And so this property, the business, it was on sale. So I negotiated with the seller, and we made the deal, and now we are buying it. And that's all about it. The business is in existence already for, I don't know how many years. It's an old gas station. And I hear from the people that it's been there since they were a child. So, and that person wants to sell, and we are in the neighborhood. We live in Harvard, and we are the family who work for it. So we decided to take it over.
We are
That's all about it.
And we are delighted. There have been, again, no incidences related to this specific location. Background checks are excellent. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Sager?
I'll just do what we're responsible for doing anytime we look to a new owner or a new license. In the state of Illinois, we do not automatically transfer license. You can't just hand it over, as it were, from one person to the next. So that's why you have to go through the process of applying for the license. We have gone through background check, and we have found everything to be clear. The fact that you have already, as a family, been working there for the past 10 years speaks incredibly well for you. And there have been no incidents, from my understanding, with this license, and so we thank you for that. As the new owner now, the responsibility rests solely on you for the upholding of the ordinances within the state of Illinois and the county regarding the sale of liquor. And so we just remind you of those same things that we just talked about. We hold it very close that we do not serve alcohol to underage individuals, so you are responsible for that. In the past, you were an employee, you were still somewhat responsible, but now as the owner, this is a huge burden upon you all, because it is a privilege to have a liquor license and not a right. And so you are coming before us asking for that privilege, and we are considering granting that privilege. And with that comes the responsibility of ensuring that you don't serve underage individuals. You cannot serve after hours, so once that business closes, and you want to make sure that it properly closes at times in terms of alcohol sales that are not going to breach that restriction on hours. And so you want to make sure that you do that. And again, you cannot give alcohol away. If a friend comes in, you can't be nice to them and give them a six-pack. That's not the way that it works. So we want to make sure that you're very, very cognizant of those requirements. And if you are, let me know that that's the case. You understand and
Yes,
you're fully
yeah, I
willing
have
to.
gone through this training several times until now.
Very good.
And the recent one, so definitely I'm fully aware of all those regulations.
That's great. And could I ask, are you Bassett trained?
Yes,
Very good. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your business in Harvard.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Kunkel?
Motion
Motion to approve.
to approve the license.
Seconded by Mr. Shorten. Roll call, please.
Sullivan.
Here, I mean, yes.
Kunkel.
Yes, and not here.
Van Hoff.
Yes?
Campbell.
Yes.
Sauger.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Do you have anything to say to us before you leave? Any comments, any questions that you might have?
All I want to say thank you for considering the liquor license for us. And the only thing is we will be very dedicated to follow the rules.
Good, thank you. Here's your license. And we do wish you well, much success.
Thank you.
May business be good. Business good for you is business good for the county. So thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we done now?
You're all
As long as you follow the rules.
I'm asking Kathy to give us a little update on what's going on with the online applications for liquor. So Kathy, can you do that for me, please?
So we've been working well over a year to get our last aspect of liquor licenses online, and that was the payment of liquor licenses. So a few years ago, we went completely online with our application process. So all applications, all supporting documents have all been required to have been submitted online. Nothing was being walked in anymore unless it was extenuating circumstances where they needed to. But the last aspect that we had was to be able to take payments online. And even though Greg made us a fantastic application online and everything, it was still, we were kind of picking and pulling attachments and pieces from different software to bring it together and just to save in our drive. So we've partnered up with SmartGov, with planning and development and their program that they're using for their online permitting, and we're using the software permit port of, or the licensing permit port of that. And we are kind of up and running with it, 50-50 sort of say. We are working out a few kinks, which is to be, you know, expected with new software and everything like that. We're not using it for the renewals though. There's a lot that go into the renewals and a lot that go into a first-time application. And with the software, it tries to automatically put them in the $1,000 application fee and everything like that. So with it being launched at the exact same time that we were bringing renewals in, I decided to take the renewals the way we always have been, and then I am manually entering everybody into the new software so that come renewals next season, they're already set to go. They'll have an access code, all of their information is in there, and it makes it a lot more seamless for them. So because of that, we tried to make it big and bold on the website for if you're renewing to go straight to this separate page that takes you to the old process. But then for any new applications, any raffle, any one-day licenses that are going to come forward and coin operated, those are all coming down here, and it will take us straight to the SmartGov portal. The biggest thing is that we are able to get our payments online now. There is a credit card processing fee, which for a brand new license can be quite high. And so we do spell it all out right here, letting them know exactly what to expect before they get through that whole process. However, you know, most people are accustomed to paying by check because we have never taken cash in our office. And to pay by e-check, it's a simple $2 charge for them, so.
And for those of you who are new, this has been a long time coming, so congratulate Kathy for staying on top of this, really. Thank you very, very much.
Very happy
Appreciate
to
it.
get this all automated. Do you guys have any questions about the process or anything that we do, you know, new members for liquor licenses or anything like that?
Could you just refresh our memory in terms of how many licenses we actually have?
We have roughly 52-ish.
And according, when you're done manually doing the renewals though, then renewals, and next year, even renewals will be done online, correct?
Correct, yeah. I mean, we could have started it this year with the renewals,
Right.
but
I get that, yeah.
the renewals are, we try to make it as easy as possible for them to know exactly what to expect and what to turn in, but it still takes a lot of hand-holding and coaching, and so we didn't feel that it was the right time while we were still testing the software and working out all the kinks to have all those renewals hitting at once. Because we opened the renewal process in January, and as you're aware with the last ordinance update, there is the regular fee from January to April 1st. Once they hit April 2nd, the fee goes up, and then April 16th, the fee goes up substantially again. And that's because we were getting so many liquor licenses at the 11th hour. So we just didn't feel that while we were working out those bugs that we would hit them with that. And we are doing our coin-operated devices renewals online, and we only have 2 of those, and even with that, we found a bunch of snags. So we figured we'd take this whole year to do the one-day licenses, the raffles, work out all the kinks, and then come the next renewal season, they already have their licenses are submitted in SmartGov, and we give them an access code and they can access it seamlessly.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Thank
It's
you.
really great
Ms.
that they don't have to fill out all that information every year. you
We
know.
do make them do that.
Yeah.
That's actually,
do you?
we do
She'll
make
do
them
that.
fill out
Okay.
the application every year, and that is our checking point to make sure that nothing has changed. Did you add an
Okay.
additional owner? Did you drop an owner? And that when anything has changed on their application, that's when we automatically contact them and say, hey, this is different from your application last year. What's changed?
Okay.
Let's talk about what's going on. And that's when we find out lots of times that somebody died or.
New owner
Yeah.
that hasn't gone through process.
So yeah,
right?
that's our way of checking that. But we do require a couple of different things when it's a brand new applicant as opposed to when it is a renewal. So
Okay.
they have a lot of the same things that they have to submit, but there are some separate things.
Ms.
I
Campbell?
was just gonna add, I mean, I think you said it, but they can still pay by e-check? Is that-
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the
so-
e-check fee is only $2.
Yeah,
No matter
exactly.
how much it is. So that's significant for us because with the credit card, that's a great process, but when you can see how those fees would add up for, you know, a brand new license is $1,000 application fee, plus it could be a $1,600 license, so that fee can be substantial. So the e-check was key to the whole thing.
And we're not making any money on that fee that we're charging.
No, that
That's just
doesn't
a
come to the
pass-through
county.
cost. Thank you very much, really.
Thank you.
Let us know, give us updates periodically on how it's working. 5.2 is the Merit Commission. Sheriff, do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to go ahead and?
Whatever you want, however you want to do it.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, I'll let you take a seat up there. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you all doing? Good. Tuesday. So we had an open seat. Gabrielle Johnson ended up moving. So she's moving to Montana, so she,
Well, good for her. but
yeah, right, I know, it's like one of
well-deserved.
those like, oh, well, that's good for you, right? So I went through the process, and as you know, getting someone on the Merit Commission, it's unique, that you want someone that, obviously by statute, would have to fall under the Republican Party ticket, so that is a hurdle in itself, because as you know, people don't always want to be known as a label with a party, so that was the first hurdle, but I also wanted someone that, would represent our agency well, would be a good steward of pushing out the good stuff that we do, and, you know, be a good balance to what we already have. So, Mr. Blumenthal is someone that I met actually when I went through the political process. He works for DuPage County. He has served on merit commissions before, and when I called him, he couldn't have been more excited. So I knew that I had picked the right guy, and I think that he will sit well with everyone else. And he's just good people, and young too, so I think that's important too now.
And from Johnsburg.
And from Johnsburg, yep.
And I too know Jason extraordinarily well. Jason actually interned for me when I was the state senator, and he also was very instrumental in introducing our affordable housing task force, our workforce housing task force, to people in DuPage who also helped us walk through that process. Jason was our liaison. So I'm very supportive of selection.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the sheriff or comments that need to be made?
Thank you.
Then I'll take a motion approving the appointment, Mr. Sager, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. Roll call, please.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes,
Campbell,
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Alltop.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And tell Jason we said congratulations.
We'll do so.
Yes.
Certain he'll be an excellent addition. The next item on the agenda is the legislative update. Alicia, thank you again for the report. Is there anything you want to draw our attention to or update us on?
yes.
Please. And Shaylin, I don't want to ignore you. Shaylin Kamakag is also here.
So, good morning. I'm Alicia Schuler. For those watching remotely, Director of Public Affairs, and my colleague, Shaylin Daigle. So we're happy to be the dynamic duo before you today. All right, so you have a pretty wordy report before you right now, so feel free to jump in at any point if you have questions, but I'll try to give you guys a bit of what's happened since I wrote this report. So something for you guys to know is that Representative DeLuca has filed House Bill 1282, which is, and thank you, Shaylin, for bringing it to our attention. And it is a bill that's trying to raise local government distributive fund disbursements back to 10%. The representative has asked for local governments to, file witness slips in support of the legislation, and I know Chairman Bueller wants to file one as well. So again, just wanted to keep that up, on your radar. It's there, and as we all know, LGDF is very important to our local governments and, of course, our municipal partners.
Absolutely.
So that one's there. Also, at the federal level, we do have a contingent from McHenry County going to attend the legislative conference for NACO, the National Association of Counties, and we will be meeting with our congressional and Senate representatives on March 4th. I am pleased to report that now we are going to be meeting in person with all of our Congress folks and our senators. I have managed to secure our appointment now with Congressman Foster as well. So, and again, if you would like to, and I know that I should mention townships. For the members who have not, or who weren't here a few years ago, there was a bill in McHenry County that was put forward from McHenry County to make it so that barriers to township consolidation would be reduced and townships could be consolidated into McHenry County itself. There was a very robust study that was done at our level, the county level, to do a cost-benefit analysis to understand thoroughly the implications of taking on the services of townships and, how it would impact the county. It turned out that there would be a lot of costs added to, to take on different, and feel free to chime in, Scott. I know you were leading that charge. But anyhow, the point comes down to Governor Pritzker did put forth a one-pager through his office about potential township consolidation and or elimination legislation in the future. Now, what that will look like, I'm not entirely sure, and I don't know that anybody has made any final decisions yet, but I do want to put on your radar that there is some consolidation legislation that is already on file, but more interesting to me is that our leadership, and that when I say leadership, I mean leadership in both parties, in both chambers of the General Assembly, have filed a lot of technical bills, which are commonly used as shell bills to put forward other pieces of legislation in the future.
That's what they are.
Yeah. Right. So again, and be mindful that they are both the leaders and minority leaders in both chambers. So again, I feel that this is an issue to keep an eye on. Again, I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go, but it's something that we need to keep an eye on.
Thank you. Shaylin?
Just a follow-up on transit, that we're still working, McCog is still working diligently on transit. There are many bills out there that address them. Chairman Bueller and us, we had a great call with labor about their bill. So it's something that we're continuing to monitor and continuing to talk to our legislators about. So.
We had a meeting last Friday with staff from all of the affected RTA counties, and really looking closer at the labor bill. I think there seems to be a little bit more comfort on the staff level with the labor bill, and some suspicion that it might be getting more traction with the legislators, but we're really just guessing.
And again, if you want to learn a little bit more about those bills, I have a comparison chart here of what's in the labor bill versus what's in the MMA bills.
That is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Mr. Sager?
Yeah, I think two important elements that really haven't been discussed before that are included in the labor bill is quote-unquote an RTA police force, which would address the safety and security elements that many individuals have expressed and concern about. And we also have an ambassador program that has been built into that bill as well, which is there to kind of help people in a variety of ways, all the way from just how do you get from one place to the next to what are your concerns, et cetera. So those are interesting elements, I believe, of the labor bill as well. I will say to you that there's ongoing discussion with the RTA board. We just met this past week, and then there's been multiple phone conversations back and forth. And they're likely, at this stage, will not, as originally planned, be a secondary resolution. And there are multiple reasons for that. I won't go into all the details right now, but I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody specifically about that. One of the largest things is that there is still reticence on behalf of suburban Cook County as well as Chicago to agree to the supermajority. And so if we get into that conversation and try to pass a resolution with regards to that element, it's going to put the RTA board into a bit of a confrontational situation. And if we have that confrontation to propose a resolution to the state legislature, then it may appear that the RTA is not able to deal with bringing everybody together to begin with, which is what we're saying that we can do if we are given authority over the other service agencies. So it's a very thin tightrope, I guess, that we're walking in that regard. So we're looking to the COGS and to the county board chair individuals, to counties themselves and municipalities to kind of put that forward to the legislature, which I think we are trying to do and doing so relatively effectively. And the labor bill supports that as well, so that's a positive thing.
Representative DeLuca might be a big assist in that regard too as well. So thank you. I just wanted to draw to your attention two things. I know that the solar issue for the county is difficult when we have no ability to place additional regulations since the state passed that legislation. Here is the position statement on the bill that we served on the task force, ISACO. So I provided that for you if you are interested. And then also what I did is there is information on the mitigation plans. With regard to the approval of solar, they require those solar developers to come and get the zoning from the unit of local government and then go through the process of being able to develop that solar system or solar plant on specific parcels of land. This is the process that they use to kind of regulate that. It's the mitigation plan, the AIM that you guys hear about all the time. I provided that information for you. If we are unsuccessful, and there are numerous pieces of legislation from not only counties but from municipalities that don't like the fact that they don't have any ability to place any kind of restrictions, setbacks, etc. If that doesn't work, there has been some discussion now about amending this process as well. So if you don't like what Plan A is, we have a Plan B. In addition to that, in discussions with the sponsors of our co-responder legislation, our social work legislation, with Representative Ness and Senator Edley Allen, what we discovered is that there was somewhat of a cross-communication, and Senator Edley Allen wanted to make that legislation applicable to the entire state, which made several of the state agencies no-go because that was obviously substantial money. So we've gotten that clarified and cleared. She understands that we are only adding McHenry County to the legislation. That seems to be moving forward, and we're very grateful for the ability to kind of get that all straightened out. So I'm very hopeful. It was assigned to committee in the House. Yeah, I'm getting there. Signed in committee in the House and through Alicia and through the sheriff. If he has to go down and testify, obviously that will happen as well. So thank you very much for that too. Any questions? Thank you. Really appreciate all the effort you guys make and the collaboration that's done. It's really appreciative.
You know, I do have a question.
Sure.
I'm not sure if this
Please.
is, well, this is more about the solar, and so it's okay in terms of, like, in talking sometimes, I know some of the companies have reached out, and I don't know if, and maybe this is better suited for PED, I mean, I think some of them might be willing to do a little bit more with decommissioning and bonding if asked, but I think there's a hesitancy to ask because we don't want to be saying it's a condition. So I don't know if at some point we want to, you know, what the thoughts are. Maybe, again, maybe that is better handled in PED, but just, you know, knowing that there are companies that might be willing to make some accommodations that we can't technically ask for, but they might be willing to do.
And I would think that probably, and that is true. There are many that are willing to sit down and try and make people more comfortable with what they're doing and becoming a neighbor in your community. But I think that's probably better done through the actual department or entity that is working with them that will be responsible. So
Okay.
probably through PED, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just putting it out there because I know it comes up and just so making people aware of that. All right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the routine consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone would like removed? Or can I have a motion to approve? Mr. Kunkel?
7.2 and 7.3.
Anyone else? Then may I have a motion to approve 7.1 as presented? Is Urch, seconded by Mr. Shorten. Can I have a roll call, please? It's an expenditure.
Who was the first?
That was me.
Oh, I said Urch.
That's
I didn't
okay.
think that- She's always gonna be Urch to me.
You're making that sound normal now.
Sorry. She was always, it was first name, last name.
Every now and then I introduce myself that way too, so.
Ms. Van Hoff, I
There
apologize.
we go.
Van Hoff,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. 7.2, emergency appropriation, yes. Brooke and David, you want to come up? Mr. Christensen and Lloyd. Morning.
Morning.
Would you like to explain why this resolution is necessary, and then Mr. Kunkel can ask any specific question?
Yeah,
Or do you
if
want
I
to
can
ask
go
your-
right to
please, go
questions,
right ahead.
save us some time. Thank you very much for your presentation a couple of weeks back. Explains all this, understand all this. That's all good. My only comment to this is I understand you and your department absolutely need this.
Thank you.
But this is kind of a soapbox moment to say there are other things happening in the county, i.e. from the pandemic and other things that we do, that I think we need to find a way to shift some funds by cutting back in other areas in order to facilitate your area that has mandates on you and a growth situation that you guys have to meet. I get that. Don't want to say, I will vote yes, even as it is. I'm letting out to my colleagues that we can't just keep expanding McHenry County government with no population expansion, no precipitous expansion of population. We have to rein in these costs. You need it. I'm a yes for this. But for all my colleagues, we do need to kind of look and see if there isn't something that we're still doing, pandemic or otherwise, where we may be able to recover some of these monies. But yes, I'm all for it. Thank you.
And
Thank
that's a great statement, because that is something that I push every year as part of the strategic plan, is that we evaluate all of the programs that we currently have in place. Are they working? Are they still effective? Do we need to continue doing them? So I would concur to that regard, just from that level. And again, yours is a mandate, you need it, so I don't think that there's anything,
And no hot seat item at all.
yeah.
I like the presentation. It was
Are-
great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions and or comments? Seeing none, I'm gonna assume that was a motion then to approve.
Motion to approve?
7.2, seconded by Mr. Shorten. Can we have a roll call?
Campbell,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough.
Yes.
I can't thank you all enough.
Thank you.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
a big deal for McHenry County. Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing? really quick
Absolutely,
to add to
please
that?
do.
And you don't need to necessarily sit back down, but I mean, to this end, I know it is a mandate, and I do really think that those, meeting those qualifications for the grant funding and everything else is what drives this. But this has been a very lean staff for a very long
Yeah.
time. And I will tell you, mandate or not a mandate, I think that this was called for in terms of resilience and the amount of prep you can do upfront to reduce the damages to the storm, as we're calling it, you know, in terms of what the different hazards can be. And if you start to think about just the level of hazardous materials alone that we're confronting, I think this is a long time in coming, and I would have supported it either way, so.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Kunkel has another.
Yeah, my one other thing is, and I like the fact that the collaboration with the strategic plan follows in a method. But we do have to remember collaboration, like the sheriff's department is doing with other departments, that's true collaboration. Some of them actually have financial skin in the game. it seems to me, and of course, I'm way outside the periphery looking in, but it seems to me you guys are doing yeoman's work and they're benefiting. I'm trying to think if maybe you can help with some more collaboration.
So,
Not the volunteers. God, we know they're putting the hours in. We've seen those hours.
Respond,
so I
David.
can, there are communities that have really stepped up their game. Huntley hired an emergency manager. They now have an emergency manager.
Fantastic.
There's other communities that have upped their game because we've helped them to that point, or they've seen the light. We had a meeting, a coordinating council meeting, where different communities, businesses, first responders are there. And we normally see about 20, 25 people. We had, I said 70, Brooke said 50, so we're going, there are 140 people there. Oh, we weren't supposed to, but anyways, so by us being more visual, they have, bandwagon's the wrong word, but they have participated, or they've seen where there's an advantage. The hazard mitigation, working with that, we brought in two communities that hadn't been part of the plan before, but they can see the light, they can see the value in there. And as to the money, last month you approved and the board approved then. I am seeking other money. I didn't put it in the resolution because I don't know if I'll get it. It was a grant for what they call a hemp grant, not that kind of hemp, but hazardous mitigation, emergency planning. It's separate from our other funding. We don't know what we'll get. It comes from the USDOT, but I am looking for other ways to fund it. I just can't say that's a constant because the process doesn't start till April, and then the long selection process or what have you. But that would help partially fund this position. I hope that happens. But to your point, we have seen more involvement. Our work with IAP's instant action plans for events, especially on the west side of the county, has also increased that awareness and brought them more into the fold, and having our locals doing more with us. And there were a couple trustees that were at our presentation on roles of first responders. Wow, we should be doing that. And so I think, you know, from those communities, we'll see a little more involvement, and we'll keep driving the bus. We'll keep making it happen. And having an extra person's really gonna make that an easier load to carry.
Right, and we know you do, and we thank you because we see it. And you've been doing it in this realm. And if we had not approved this, we know you would still do it. It's just like the sheriff. You guys work so hard, and he worked, that all that activity draws more activity to yourselves. And I nothing but commend you for it. It's fantastic. I love to see that kind of collaboration. And again, we know you need this. This is fantastic. I just, fiscally responsible me says, how we gotta look from someplace else to find the money. I wanted to borrow from Pat, but he wouldn't give it to me.
My favorite call I get to the office, Carolyn called us, and she, so she's our big cheerleader out there saying, hey, you guys should, you know, get on this or be working it. And that's coming from the community as a resident. So, you know, if all of you are doing that, we'll try to answer the call.
And thank you for the breakdown in numbers for the resolution. That was fantastic.
All right, thank you.
And I think the outreach really did help because Huntley now, the EMA sits as the chair of LEPC, right?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
Which we've been looking, they have been looking for quite
For a
some
while.
time. So it is growing. I think the efforts are paying off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then 7.3, there's no one here from the state's attorney's office, and I too was gonna.
Public defender.
Pardon me?
It's public defender.
Oh, public defenders. And they too, maybe they didn't realize, maybe that message didn't get, but there was nothing in here about cost finance, where the money's coming from, nothing. And I'm assuming that was your kind of question.
Sort of. My question is kind of broken record, and where's the money, where's the money? But my other question is like, and I know it came up in admin, but not here. Love the breakdown that we got from EMA on these actual costs. But to throw out and say it's about $2,300, that's fiscally irresponsible of this board to take a giant estimate. I would just want from them an actual breakdown.
We can
Through the cost.
Maybe we can find it. Carrie apologized. She called me on my way to work this morning. She had a sick kid. She wanted to be here to help discussions. She was largely, she and Mark were the author of that. And it is truly an administrative cleanup. After last month, we moved a handful of state's attorneys. It's appropriate to move the defense similarly. It is about $2,300. These younger attorneys, there's a lot of turnover. You never really know how much it's gonna cost at the end of the year, but it's that ballpark. But I can ask them that maybe refine that a little bit further for
Yeah,
finance.
just so we know how much of this is carry and FICA and IMRF and all of those. I
There
realize-
is confidence that they can handle it within the existing budget.
Okay, that's great.
I submit.
Motion to approve?
And seconded by Mr.
Yep.
Sullivan. Again, another roll call, please.
Sager,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes,
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Thank you very much again.
Can I just ask, I mean, I think we've made some movements here over the last year, and I think they're all warranted, et cetera. Are there more of this type of thing that are gonna come forward?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we think we've got everything
Cleaned up.
cleaned up. Yeah, that's a good word right now.
That's what I'm trying to get drill down to the actual numbers
Right,
of what this final bit of housekeeping took. That's all I'm
Right.
trying to find out.
And I would ask the same be conveyed to all of the department heads so they recognize that issue continually comes up over and over and over. And not just for the finance committee, but for all the committees that consider.
This past Friday, we had our department head meeting, and we again went over new text that Kathy's kind of inserted into the resolutions, not the resolutions, but what do you call the sheets
The
afterwards?
template of the resolution.
Yeah, kind of forcing those questions, right? I mean, you can always disregard them, but we're asking the department heads, why wasn't this done in the budget season? Most notably, where's the money gonna come from next year?
Yeah, and I just really appreciate the breakdown where we have the actual breakdown of the truer cost of it, that's all.
That's an educational tool. When you go out and talk to your constituents, you have a lot more information that you can share.
That's right.
So for us, it's important. So, thank you.
well, life is unpredictable, though. You're
Always.
going to have surprises and emergencies, so that's why we have things like emergency funds for our personal lives. So we just, we have to be aware that those things do happen. Right?
Yes. People have those. Moving right along, unfortunately, the presentation for 911, we're going to move that to next month's agenda. We ran into some unexpected issues. No old business. Moving on to the reports, we have an update on the RFP for the jail staffing project. Ms. Salgado, Sheriff, you want to join her?
Yeah, and I appreciate the sheriff staying with us also.
Trying to escape.
Saw that girl.
I gotta go qualify.
This truly
saw the handcuffs come out.
is a forward-thinking
Yeah.
step.
Yes, it
But
is.
Jail healthcare is expensive, and it's gonna get more expensive if absent any other changes, right?
100%.
Yeah, the current contract with WellPath is done at the end of the year.
November, yeah, end of fiscal year.
And we're just trying to think about what could be different on that document. Sheriff Tillman invited Scott and I over to meet with Sandy and Chief Smay and Under Sheriff Bucci a couple weeks ago to kind of talk about what we're looking at is like almost a three-pronged approach to looking at. All right, you tell us about the prongs.
Okay.
I'll stop.
So really
I've
quick,
said
as an
enough.
overview, thank you, Peter Austin. For some of you who are new, we usually have 4-year contracts. For our inmate healthcare, we've had a 5-year because really it's a professional service. They're providing medical services to our inmates. For those of you who've been on here, we've been with WellPath for a long time. They were CCS before WellPath. They've really transitioned in the last 5 years very well with us. We went from having ICE to not having ICE, to having Lake County, Kane County. Now we don't have Kane County, we just have Lake County. Through COVID. During that time, they've tried to increase rates. And last year they tried to increase by 800,000 and we said, no. We have a contract and we're gonna abide by that. So now we're coming up to, at the end of November, the opportunity to go out to bid again. We know what those bids are gonna come back looking like. They're gonna be no less than.
Probably 4 or 5 players, but they're all gonna be.
Correct. So we're at 2.4 million right now for our budget. So the sheriff and undersheriff
of course, out talking with other sheriffs about how they handle inmate healthcare, because this is an issue everywhere. As pricing goes up, as you know from Valley High, just maintaining and retaining nursing and other medical staff is very challenging, and we have to be very creative. So Sheriff went to Kankakee, and they actually have their own medical staff as employees. They had made that transition several years ago.
back, yeah.
And because of some of the issues, like not being in control of some of the pricing, so they made the transition, and it has really been financially feasible for them, actually beneficial.
I was surprised to learn that although Kankakee County is smaller than McHenry, their inmates are very similar, the number of people they're detaining. Plus, they're holding 150 for Champaign County.
And they have marshals as well.
Yeah, so they're a big jail, bigger than our jail by the time it all gets done.
So we've been lucky to have communications with them, and the sheriff has worked very closely with one of the individuals who was really the main player in making the transition for them from having a vendor doing the inmate healthcare to moving over to hiring your own employees and running a medical department. So in talks with her, we've hired her essentially to do a staffing plan for us. This staffing plan is something that in the past we've had no involvement with. We go out to vendors and say, we have 300 inmates, what does that look like staffing wise? And they all come back and give us their own version of what we need hourly and what the fees are gonna be. She's going to provide for us what a staffing plan should look like, regardless of if it's for a vendor or for us. It's something that we're gonna be able to take on our 4-prong approach. So what's the 4-prong approach? A, the traditional way. Go out for an RFP, wait for vendors to respond, meet with them, ask questions, and then go with who we feel is the most responsible. It's an RFP, so it's not a bid, but still the most responsible vendor financially and professionally. The next one is, hey, we want to make some changes, but we don't have enough time. This is a philosophical, cultural change going from a vendor providing healthcare to us creating our own medical department, right? So maybe extend the contract with WellPath for an additional year. You know, there's gonna be a pricing increase if we do that, but negotiating with them, they're here, they're doing it, to give us that extra year for the transition. The third is going out to our local healthcare. We'd really like to go to Northwestern, but Mercy also has a big presence here in working with them and really encouraging them to be our partner. And hey, maybe not just partner with us, let's get MCC involved since they have training programs that are preparing people for the medical community, involving them. So it's a true partnership in the community. That's gonna take Pete, you guys helping us, talking to your constituents and the individuals at those hospitals, but bringing them in as our partner, our vendor. And then the fourth is actually creating our own medical division. So what does that look like? That looks like hiring a doctor, you know, a mental health provider on staff, nursing.
Probably contractual doctors, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sure, because that's, but it's still,
Maybe
it's
more than
us
one.
responsible, it's us having a medical director.
Matt, Mr. Kunkel?
Not to interject too early, but is there another prong where this is a hybrid in order to cover the fact of your multiple shift coverage, that we had something worked out with Northwestern or Mercy and had our own staff for at least a portion of those shifts? Because the difficulty is obviously, this is round the clock, this is
So,
24/7.
Kankakee County actually trained some of their correction officers to also have some medical background, and they don't have anyone in those overnight hours. They just give a stipend to those correctional officers. So
Hybrid is in the more, so we're really looking at 5 prongs.
well, the hybrid is gonna be no matter what, unless we bring in a vendor. So yeah, we recognize that too, because there's just certain things that we can save some money on cost and not lose people and train other people, and there's a lot of things that we can do with that, yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
So I'll only throw out two. A, public health. Is there a reason that we could maybe talk to them and see what resources they may have available as well? And then, if not, the hospitals, and you're talking about the hybrid, we have great paramedics, right? Fire departments, et cetera, that have trained personnel. Just throwing all that stuff out there for you guys to
Yeah, for sure.
incorporate thought.
I don't think there is a limit to what we can and can't do. I think we're open to it all. You guys know me well enough. I like the option for jump in a shallow pool head first, and so we can control it. Because in talking with every single sheriff in the state of Illinois, they are not happy with their healthcare provider. And I think you all can agree, if you can bring people in who understand your vision and mission, they're gonna do a better job for what you have. I understand the liability is more, but if we train right and we do things right, I think that the ability there is huge for us.
And devil's advocate, the services we go out to do it, they're out to make money. They're out to make money. So there's no way we can create a savings with somebody who's out to make money. There's just not.
It's a constant management of their contract.
So I just,
Mr. Sager,
Sorry.
that's okay. That was a little gentle slap. Mr. Sager.
Thank you. I apologize for not knowing this already, but for the length of our contract, has there been routine requests for increases to the amount? And we're saying this year, but have we acquiesced in the past years?
We have. So there was a point right after COVID where it was very challenging for all of healthcare, right? Because a lot of nurses were going contractual because they were making a lot of money. So it was hard for a lot of entities to hold on to them. So they came to us and said, we're losing our nurses. We need more money. We made them do like a market analysis, because honestly, at that time, almost every single one of your vendors here at the county was financially challenged. And our purchasing department said, in order for us to revisit our contracts, you need to show us the burden that you've been in for us to revisit. And at that time, really WellPath did a good job at showing us some of the difficulties they've been having. So we did.
So can you tell us approximately how much we had added to our contract then by WellPath?
Sure, so it was close to 300,000, and it was mostly for the nursing. There was a bonus that because they pay, right? So our contract went up about 300,000, but it was focused mostly on the nursing.
Because they were going other places with bonuses.
They were going other places, and as you know, nursing, there's a lot of attractions out there for them to leave wherever they're at.
I'm gonna put all my cards on the table here. I agree with Matt a lot, I think, that the marketplace itself is a profit marketplace. And so we're gonna constantly be caught in that gerbil wheel, I guess, because we're always gonna be chasing ourselves if we don't take control of this. So I believe firmly that we need to take control of this, but I think we need to know absolutely, totally upfront what we're getting ourselves into, because we're going to have healthcare space that is properly equipped. We're going to have supplies that are there. We're going to have not just the medical, but the psychological as well. So you got the full gamut there. And I want to know what the package is. I want to know what the totality of a package is. And I know that we're not at that stage yet because you're considering the 4 prongs. I agree that we should be working in collaborative effort, as I always believe, with our local hospitals, MCC, et cetera. I think that's absolutely essential. The local emergency services, I think that's absolutely essential, and I think that we can partner there. But ultimately, I believe that we need to bring this in-house. Next question, though, if we do bring it in-house, to what extent are we going to serve the rest of the county employees as well? Are we going to provide them any services, or is this going to be totally contained in terms of just the jail population?
Right now, this is just the jail. Maybe, this may give us an opportunity to show how we've been successful, and there may be other opportunities to branch off of, but this specific is just for inmates and inmate healthcare.
I don't want to get into mission creep, I guess, is my caution in this, because we do have a wellness program with employees, and I think that's great, but that's not where we're going from what I understand.
Yeah, no.
Equally, I would presume that we're not going that way with the employees of the Sheriff's Department. And so it is an inmate population,
Correct.
Medical and psychological service.
And your concerns on those things that you talked about, those things that we're already currently doing. We have the space, we understand what the drugs look like, and Pete and Scott can talk about, no, I know. I got ahead of my thought. Pete and Scott
They're
can
aware
talk
of all
about
the
like.
drug stuff themselves.
What's that?
They're aware of all the drugs themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Mary Jo is the one who we're gonna be contracting with. And when I first went to Kankakee County, showed her what we're paying, and you guys know, she didn't even bat an eye, and she knows that we can do the same with our own for that cost or even a savings. And I think that there's opportunity for us. That the hard part is going to be getting all of our ducks in a row as it relates to standard operating procedure, hiring someone that, a director. The director position is going to be key, and bringing someone in that knows what they're doing with that and identifying that person. And she's very confident. I mean, she originally told us that we could be up and running in 90 days if we really wanted to.
Okay, that's my next question. So thank you very much. Time frame is 90 days.
Yeah, that's a really aggressive, super aggressive. That's why we're doing this now, right?
I know, but I want to get back to, the concern is, do we have the money to do this? And Matt already raised that question about our forward thinking and planning in terms of the finances and the money. We have to be willing to support this, and we have to be willing to convince other colleagues on the county board that this is the right direction,
Sure.
Given the increased cost. But I'm committed to the fact that I think the long-term savings in a profit marketplace will be well received. And I think that we can make that argument. But if this person is coming in and helping us, how long is it going to take to get the plan together?
She's gonna, March.
So the staffing
market?
plan, which is just the first step, is gonna be given to us by the second week in April. And that is because if we're going out to RFP, we need to start that process as well with purchasing by the end of April, because it takes a long time to do this. So that's just the first part, is the staffing plan. Once we have that, then we're gonna be working like this. We're gonna be doing the RFP. We're gonna be putting money behind that
It's a
staffing.
parallel path. You're still gonna go out for the
Yes. Oh,
RFP
yes.
while we're planning
Because
this
we need
as
to have
well.
that foundation.
Right, so we'll be able to compare
Right.
costs
Totally.
with
I think the staffing plan is gonna really assist in any of the prongs that we look at.
In all of them. I mean, it's really an investment. So in full transparency, I believe it was 28,000. That's why there's not a resolution, because it didn't hit that 30.
But I said, I really want you guys to come and talk to the
Yes.
committee, and they agreed, so thank you.
If we move forward, it's gonna be more, because if we wanna go that way after talking with you, she's gonna be our consultant, and we're gonna.
And I love the idea. Does everybody understand exactly what that program is? Does anybody have any questions, or can you give
I have a question.
short of what actually services are provided and how that works
It's first
currently?
aid.
Just so everybody gets an idea.
It's
Yeah.
really a first aid program.
So I
We're
have a
not-
question I want to ask. I'm really happy that you're thinking about implementing this after a year, doing your homework and getting all the ducks in a row. I think that's really important. And I wanted to ask, you looked at Kankakee.
Correct.
So is that the only place that you've looked at? Because when I think about, what happened with mental health, we looked at Winnebago. We had one example, and that was one of the things that was a concern for me at that time, because sometimes things that might work in one place might not work here.
Totally.
So I wanted to know
Yeah.
if you looked at anybody else, and also how much money long-term, would this save us? I know that's difficult to say because you are having increases
Sure.
every renewal, so you can maybe kind of extrapolate and have an idea, but I think what would be very beneficial is that if we could have some kind of cost savings analysis that would show us what our possible savings would be over a 5 or 10-year period based on increases that we've had.
I think the
Well, you're
staffing
gonna also
analysis
get-
will kind of give us a really good idea of what it looks like, and like what Matt had said, I mean, regardless of what it looks like, we're not in it to make money, so whatever the staffing analysis looks like, she'll probably say, this is what it's gonna cost you guys to run it, with the understanding that you will also have, medical malpractice that you have to be concerned about, right? So that's kind of like the unknown dollar amount that you have, versus if you bring in a vendor, it's gonna cost you 30% more, but you don't have to worry about the medical malpractice. But, so 100%
And
I
then I
agree with
think
you.
upfront
That's gonna
costs
come.
too, to know, what's it gonna
For
take
sure.
to drive it off the lot?
Yeah,
I'll-
we'll be
I'll
able
fit
to
the-
provide.
Totally, yeah,
Yeah.
and all
We're just not
that's
there yet.
part of all this stuff that we're doing, we thought about that as well, so I mean, to answer your first
Yeah.
question, really, we're a family doctor at the end of the day, that's the medical care that we provide. However, I think there's an opportunity that we can be a little bit more. For whatever reason, there was a shift from WellPath where they did more in-house, but now it's like, if it's not a Band-Aid, they're pushing them off to the hospitals. So I think that's, part of what we're talking about here and providing healthcare to individuals, that if we can do more in-house and we can actually.
There's cost taken.
And there's a lot of costs,
to the jail or
right,
to the hospital.
right, because you're talking about sending 2 correctional officers that have to sit on individuals, I mean, there's a lot more that WellPath doesn't care about. They just care about sending to the hospital, then it's off of their books so that they don't have to worry about providing the care. So I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that we've kind of thought about that, it's not just the healthcare that makes things more efficient, it's the correctional officers, it's the facility, how are we running as a whole, and I think that, for me, that's that mission driven, where it's like, this is the mission of this inmate healthcare, where WellPath is like, hey, we're just gonna do whatever you tell us to as it relates to medical health, or jail healthcare.
And we're triple accredited, and those accreditations tell us what we need to do. Okay, just so you know, there's guidelines, it wouldn't be winging it, but we still have to meet those guidelines and those accreditations to maintain our accreditation.
So again, I'm gonna go back to the same thing. Can you give me just a brief synopsis, kind of, you did it, family doctor, first aid, kind of go through that so that we have a better idea of exactly what would be provided?
So when inmates come in, they get checked by a nurse, and they go through their medical history, get a snapshot, the best they possibly can. It's gonna surprise you, sometimes inmates aren't very truthful, so, there can be a little bit of gray area when it comes to that. But every time someone comes into our facility, every time someone comes into our facility, there's an analysis done on the person's medical history that is done by WellPath right now. We would keep that consistent, depending on their needs. There are times that we don't admit people because of some of the medical issues that they currently have or have gone through, and we turn them right back around and they go back to a hospital where they can be signed off, where we have an agreement with the hospital, certain criteria needs to be met for that individual to come back in. Once an individual is in custody, depending on what that healthcare is, what level of healthcare they need, we provide that to them. Mental health is also included, which I think is an opportunity that if we do this in-house, then they can kind of pair up a little bit closer than they have so far, but our police social work program, they're 2 different silos, but we can start blending those a little bit more and more together. There's a lot of layers that can go into that as well. So, and then there's continued care that, we have dental that is something that is provided to them, but we've seen kind of a backlog, and WellPath kind of, they weren't very, they had some issues when it comes to that, but dental is also provided.
We have a dental suite, WellPath built a dental suite for us.
So it's, it's a primary care, and then also if someone comes in with medical issues, we have the ability to address all those medical issues, to include substance use disorder. So if someone is currently on medication for substance use disorder, that is provided to them as well. I will say that one of the things that you guys approved today was working with an agency to assure that we are kind of advancing in medical assisted treatment or medical assisted recovery, which in the state of California is mandated. Illinois will be that at some point in time. So once again, we decided to kind of control our own destiny with that and create a program, start building on that. So that'll also be included as well.
Questions? Mr. Seiger? Mr. Kunkel.
I think it's important for the sheriff and the department to know what we are behind. And I think we need to make a pretty solid statement within this committee. I think we need to have another committee or two that kind of go along with this so that they don't spin their wheels. I'm all in favor of this kind of hybrid approach right now with in-house efforts. I think they need to focus on doing that, focus on getting us covered for the next interim period of time, but move this forward. So I think that kind of statement from just a consensus here would be important so that they know where this board is and they know how to spend their time right now in planning.
Is there a plan to go before Finance and Administrative Services with the same?
You know,
We
this is
can,
the
but
first stop and simply
yeah.
we can be. My vision, you know, is Finance Committee and Finance Chair Scala wants to have a budget cow in June, kind of launching
Right,
the
right.
budget program.
That's-
And my expectation in that presentation is we're gonna say one of the big hurdles we've got in the fiscal 26 is jail medical. And here's the turnkey approach. We know now with the RFPs that have been received, it's gonna be 3 million, right? And then what are we gonna do to help fill that hole? Because we're at 2.4 now. And, you know, if the interim is hiring the director to help build the program, to launch it at some point in 26, we get there.
I would just ask, in relation to Mr. Sagar's suggestion, that perhaps you think about going maybe even administrative services, just so people have an idea of exactly what's going. Mr. Kunkel and then Ms. Campbell.
First, I'll take the
Ms.
last.
Campbell, Mr. Kunkel.
So if I'm hearing you, then are you suggesting not going out for RFP?
We're gonna go out for
I mean, they have to
I'm
go out
sorry?
for our.
Yeah, we gotta go out.
We have to do that
okay,
to
because
cover the
that's
interim.
right, okay, just to make sure.
Just might not be ready December 1.
Correct. Correct.
Well, no, I understand that, but the other option was if we truly believe that going in-house is the thing to do, and we spend time and money on going out for an RFP, I understand, I know why you're doing it.
We're gonna have to do that anyway, though.
Yeah,
I mean, to build the program.
But you also mentioned extending well care for another year, which would that have required an RFP as well, or could you have just?
Well, we probably could, well, actually, I don't know. We would have to talk to, I don't know how
No,
they did.
We're already on our 5th year, aren't we?
We're already on our 5th year, so we're gonna work with the
Exercise
state's
They're not
attorney.
gonna do that.
No, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And that
That's
was
fine, I just didn't know if we're driving that way anyway and we could extend it a year, did that make sense?
I think we're gonna have a lot more clarity once we get this study done and we can sit down and say, here's what we're looking at. Here's the positions, here's the hours we're looking at. In today's market value, ideally, here's what we're looking at price-wise. Here's, you know, if we're able to even do this, how quickly we're able to do it. You know, and I think there'll be a lot more clarity in April's meeting. You know, when we get the results back from Mary Jo and we're able to move forward, I think, you know, there's a lot of questions and they're all great questions and I think they're all accurate questions, which are kind of the same questions that we're gonna have as well. But I think that'll give, you know, once we come back and she provides us, I mean, she's doing it. So she knows what it's gonna take to make our facility. She's already come and visited twice with us. And she's gonna come in a couple weeks to actually walk around, talk with healthcare, talk with inmates, do everything we've asked her to do. Look at space, understand how many people are coming through that door, what our current ADP is, how many people are going to the hospital, all that stuff. And then come back and provide us and say, this is what you're looking at to run your facility. And then we can come back and say, timeline, here's what we think, and then, you know, here's how we're gonna go out and do it.
And we're already paying, how much did you say?
2.4 million.
2.4, and they've increased it 300,000. What do you think it will be?
That's already.
I know, that's already, there was
happened.
increased in that, yeah.
We're gonna be, we're gonna be
So,
over.
They were asking for
last year, they asked us for 800,000.
Right. So
They
I'm
gave us
gonna
three
say
really
that
good
we're at 3 million, if not beyond that, for anybody
know
that
that.
comes
Yes.
in.
Right.
I'm just giving that as a reference point. Mr. Kunkel.
We all know how the commercial space works. If we don't give them the 300,000 ask, they just reduce services to us by that 300,000.
Sure.
It's not like we've held them to any mark. The RFP, of course, has to be done for a benchmark. With no benchmark, this is all just foolhardy. I believe, and everybody in this county believes, at some point, in some way, some circumstances, we have to hybridize this. You guys, the onus is on you to do all of that work to get this into us at under 2.4. Maybe it's only $1. But again, you don't know where that's gonna be. But I think that has to be the focus. We can't focus on 2.7 from the start. I don't believe that's the way to go. I really don't.
Yeah, and I think I know what,
But at some point, you hybridize what you're giving to do the same thing as they did, to give you less for more dollars.
So we're gonna start with the staffing plan.
Sounds great.
Eventually, there's gotta be a full operational plan, right, if we're gonna go that way. And if the staffing, we know what we're being staffed at right now.
Right, but the parallel with the RFP also tells us the benchmark for the market. So when your numbers come in, we have a measuring pole at that point.
It is.
for sure.
RFP, I cannot guarantee will be in by June. RFPs in this process takes a long time,
But your
that's when we're
numbers will be
starting.
fairly close by June, right?
But
I think we also have
I
to,
wanna be
Because I'm
careful
gonna
about
type,
saying.
we also have to consider though that you're gonna have startup costs that would be separate from what your operating costs would be. So I would just want to say, keep that in mind because,
Can't be.
you know, when you talk about 2.4 million,
They can't.
you might have some additional costs to get things set up
There
there.
might be, they're gonna be, if we do this ourselves,
Mhm.
like the sheriff said,
Mhm.
we've been doing it. We have space, we have all the cabinets for, for all the medicine, we have the dental suite, we have
Happy to
the
hear about
area
the
where they
dental.
do the physical, so personnel is gonna be
Big one.
The big thing.
the hulk of
Yeah.
Which
this.
is why you're.
So you may have very minimal startup
I-
costs, that's what you're saying.
Correct.
Mr. Short.
I appreciate the approach, and the $2.4 million is, I think, scope it around what is currently being provided. Yeah, there's gonna be startup costs which may push the first year above that, but also, we might have in a position where it's more than $2.4 million, because to your point, if we can add additional services that we can do in-house and prevent the cost of sending deputies to a local medical care provider, it might, on a base level, be higher. We just need to make sure we justify the back-end costs that we're saving to offset it.
I think part of this whole plan was, one, most importantly, provide a service that we can control that is what we think is what the service should be provided to our inmates.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you, I don't think when you contract, it's the same. It just isn't. Because if the standard's not met, we let people go. WellPath standard is different than what our standard is. But I also agree with you guys, and we've been pretty financially, mindful. And I can guarantee you that this isn't gonna go overlooked as well. And I think there's an opportunity for us in seeing what the landscape looks like, because there's only so many healthcare providers now. They have the counties,
Over barrel, yeah.
totally.
Sure.
And all these contracts are gonna come in at 3 mil or over, I guarantee you. And I would agree with you, Matt, if I can keep it at that 2.4, I can come back quickly and say I saved this county $600,000, right? Now, is that reality? I don't know, because I don't know what the study looks like and what costs look like. You gotta remember, this contract also was 5 years old. Costs have gone up a ton in 5 years, and I know that a lot of these, that's one of the reasons why WellPath's like, well, we can't do the cost, we can't do it anymore. It's like, well, you signed the paper and said you could. That's a you problem, not an us problem. So, but I understand how that works as well.
Mr. Kunkel, Mr. Sager.
Well, never let it be said that we're shy about asking you for miracles. You got big shoulders, we just heap it right on up there.
I'll take it. I'm a
I know
challenge guy.
that.
Give me that challenge.
I'm trying to tell
going.
everybody here, challenge this man. He's done great things, challenge him.
Yeah.
That's my number challenge to you there.
I got you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sager.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we need to challenge. I think you've heard the challenge. I just want to make sure that we, as a committee, send them off today with the fact that, yes, we believe this is the right path for McHenry County, not just today, but into the future. And it's going to be fiscally responsible. It's also going to provide better quality care to the inmates for which we are responsible. I think we need to make that statement as consensus.
So I'm going to assume then that was a motion to approve 7.3 as the beginning to let them know that we're behind this. 7.3. Oh, I'm sorry, 10.1.
See, like, that sounded.
Do we have to do anything?
Your approach.
No, we don't have to do it. I apologize. We don't have to because it's under the 30,000.
This is just a report.
Yes, got it, I got it, Brianna, never mind.
This was the heads up. We signed that a couple weeks ago.
I got it, sorry.
Full speed ahead here from this
I got
committee,
it, sorry.
believe.
I just got back from Florida, I'm still
This is consensus that we are willing, I mean, I think it's more than that. I think we are willing then to communicate to our colleagues, and I'm hoping that it's going to go to other committees. I agree, I think Administrative Services and definitely Finance Committee.
Well, finance, I think they'll do
Right.
when they have stuff.
Right, but I think that we need to have backing for this, and that's what I'm asking us to say, that yes, we believe, given the right numbers, obviously we don't know exactly, but we believe that this is the way to be going. I want them to have that assurance, I guess, as they leave today.
Mr. Short.
I haven't been to Florida, so I'll offer my concurrence to Member Stocker's comments.
Yeah, and I think admin is great. I think finance is premature, because if Mike has no numbers,
I do.
you don't want to have anything to chew on.
Right, I agree with that.
I concur with that.
I think it's a great idea, I really do. I just, I'm very cautious about making decisions like that. And you're saying a year, I feel very comfortable with that. So I think it's a great idea though, because I think you will be able to provide better services for the inmates and you can control the costs more. Overall, over time, I think we definitely will see a cost savings.
That's why I was standing by my side. You'd hate to be my partner. I'd be kicking the doors and running and be like, well, I guess we're doing this now.
And I'm holding that door back and just trying to kick.
I like that
So we'll
approach.
let the minutes reflect that this committee came to a consensus that we're very supportive of the 4 options that you are investigating as to where we go forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
With the
As soon as we hear that report, obviously we'll be back in front of you guys and we'll be talking more and more about this.
The 4 options, though, include just keep it the way it is, contract. We're not really talking about the 4 options. We're talking about
One.
I think we're talking about,
one,
I
the
understand.
hybrid, bringing it in-house and making it hybrid.
Excuse me. Well, I think we're in
But
favor
with
of
the
them
4
moving
pronged
forward with the
approach.
idea that we're gonna get to a better place.
Right.
And that, I think
And they're gonna
that's
go
what we
out and
really
do
are.
the request for proposals anyway. I don't want that to be misconstrued.
Right.
So let's just
Right.
say the
We're just
4
Okay.
with
Going
strong
forward with the
support
pro-
to investigate the hybrid.
Exactly.
Got it.
And the
Okay.
RFP will really confirm what you're saying. We'll get to see what's gonna come in.
Totally.
Any other questions?
Is Peter on board with this?
Yeah, I'm on board, yeah. I have been cautious. Bringing in that liability and bringing in the employees, I just gotta be eyes wide open, but it's.
You should have seen Peter's face when I first.
And can I also be tacky? He's a constitutional officer. He can kind of sort of do what he wants. It's just us for the money.
Yeah, that's tacky.
We've always wanted to work very closely
Just
with
to
the
be,
board.
I'm not being tacky. I just want to, we get into these patterns and I just want to be clear. We're very appreciative that you're including us and you're
Yeah.
planning so that we're prepared with regard to budgetary.
I got a lot more out of this discussion than I even anticipated. I wanted to alert you guys that this was starting to brew, but we got a lot more, so thank you.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there is no need for an executive session. However, before you leave, Suzanne left.
I can grab it back if you want.
Do you want to give an update?
I can do it. I think we've updated some in the past about our contract with our probation officers. And it's been kind of going on for a while. It's unique in that we are at the table, but we, the county board, don't approve this contract. It is approved by the chief judge. These are positions are largely funded by the state, but not entirely by the state. Our probation officers have been in a situation where they agreed to a 4-year contract that precluded them from realizing some of the wage adjustments that this board approved in the summer of '22 and the summer of 2024. So there was a need for a catch-up. I appreciate Suzanne and her leadership in kind of moving this along. So we know where we need to be. Let's just get there and get it done. And I think we're there. Chief Judge Feeder has not signed off on it yet. I don't know the pace of that. I don't know if he's waiting for the AOIC to give him the head nod, but we're going to be there. So good job for Suzanne.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think.
Seeing no further business, can I have a motion to adjourn? Yes, Mr. Short, and yes, Ms. Campbell.